You're listening to Kids Ministry Answers from Stuff You Can Use, from Stuff You Can Use, from StuffYouCanUse.org.
Welcome to Kids Ministry Answers. My name is Linda.
And my name is Jason. And this is the podcast where you ask the questions and we help you find the answers.
Hi, Jason. How you
Hello,
doing?
Linda. I'm doing well. How are you?
I am good as well.
Awesome.
Wow, what a lovely day for a podcast.
What a lovely day. It's always a lovely day for a podcast.
Oh, because we're always indoors.
Yes. Yeah, it doesn't depend on the weather at all. We can always do it.
Right.
Yep.
So it was a weird thing to say, Linda. Okay, well, before we dive into today's conversation, I have to ask you, Jason, mostly because I'm curious, but because it also ties into our topic for today.
Okay.
What were you like as a Sunday school or youth group or elementary kid? I don't know, pick a time in your life. What were you like as a young child?
Oh, boy. Wow.
Interpret that as you will.
I know. Okay. Kid Jason. Yes. Wow. Lots that I could say. I'll sum it up by saying quiet for sure. Full of daydreams. Always dreaming. Very imaginative. Super sensitive. I was just one of those kids, I loved, from a very young age, I loved hearing stories. I loved reading stories when I learned to read, and writing stories as soon as I could. That was always me from a very young age. So I think,
Yeah, and you carried that with you.
totally. Yeah. So that was always, yeah. How about you?
Oh, you might be surprised to know this about me, but I think I was very much like Hermione from the Harry Potter series. I know,
I'm
surprise.
not surprised at all. Sure.
Yeah, I have to say though, like that line from the book where Professor Snape calls her an insufferable know-it-all, like
Yes.
I felt
That like hits you on a very personal level.
Right.
Yeah.
But then I think I was a little bit of a departure from your traditional like model student because I didn't have any of those like model student behaviors, right? So because I was a little bit sassy, I was a little bit rebellious because I wasn't like always raising my hand and being polite. I was kind of like snarky and I was like doodling while people were talking. And I think even for me growing up, I would always be like, what is wrong with me? Why am I like this? Right?
Yeah.
But then looking back, I think it's because I knew what was expected of me, but I didn't really know how to meet that expectation.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. But, that
Interesting.
comes from hindsight. And so teachers didn't really know what to do with me because they'll be like, oh, like I want to chastise her, but then she kind of has the grades. So I don't know, like, am I going to mess that up if I talk to her?
Wow. Okay. I'm starting to get like a clear picture of kid Linda. So you did the right
You were
things, but
that
you did it in your own way. No, that's very cool. It's very cool. Yeah. So you were kind of a know-it-all to go back to the Hermione
I
thing.
sure was.
But you like had some
I got in
rebellion in there.
trouble a lot, which is really odd. Because you know how when we think of, especially like growing up in the 90s, you expect a good quote-unquote student is one that, follows the rules and is like punctual and does all their work and is really respectful. And so I was like always just like not quite there.
Yeah.
That was really hard.
Yeah, it's really a good like point because even as I said, like I was quiet and all that stuff, like I didn't match the stereotypes of what you'd say is like a quiet kid. Like I definitely had some times where I would be extroverted and do things where I think people were like, whoa, like what?
You
Where
played
is this guy?
sports. Like we wouldn't have expected that.
So it's like, but the sports thing was connected to story too. Like I would hit the ball over the fence in my backyard and it was all like, this is the bottom of the ninth and I'm this baseball player. I'm like writing a story. Exactly. So that's very cool to think about. Yeah.
Well, I love talking about this because even between the two of us, we contained multitudes, and we didn't quite
Yes.
fit the mold of what a
Mhm.
stereotypical anything would be like. And those
Yeah.
are the kinds of students we meet in our ministries, and we often forget that, and we kind of
Mhm.
expect our kids to fit into this cookie cutter image of what it looks like to be engaged in Sunday
Totally.
school. And 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 the thing about engagement is it's really hard to quantify. It's sometimes even hard to identify, right? Because it looks
Yeah.
different. So today's question really hones in on a noticeable behavior that we can really spend some time with talking about today. So let's listen in.
Hi, my name is Allegra Collins, and I'm from Nashville, Tennessee. And my question is, what are your tips on engaging kids who don't want to participate or who have a hard time participating in small group time and Bible teaching time? Would just love to hear your tips on how to engage those kids who just are difficult to reach at times.
Hi,
Hi, Allegra. Thank you for this great question. This is very important to talk about. I think when we first response to like talking about kids that don't engage is we want to associate it with like they just don't want to. Like we got to fix the problem here. When like
Yeah.
we've talking about there in reality there's like so many reasons why this could be happening, and it's really important to explore all those reasons that could be possible, the whys behind it, right? That the kid might not even fully understand.
Right.
And then how do we as leaders address those possible whys?
Yeah, that's exactly right. Allegra, once again, thank you so much for your question. Allegra actually has written for Grow Kids Preschool a couple
Oh,
of times
cool.
before. So good to hear your voice, Allegra. Thank you for submitting your question. And you're right, Jason. It's such an important one because it really is, as a leader, it can be disheartening to do all this prep and show up on Sunday, and then the kids appear to be indifferent. Or, it's like that scene from Inside Out where Joy is just trying everything to cheer Bing Bong up.
Yeah.
And they're just not connecting. And she's just like, why aren't you like happy yet?
Yeah. Come on, let's go.
And it's really easy to feel like you're somehow failing as a leader if the kids don't participate in the standard ways you'd expect them to.
Yeah.
So we're going to dive into this topic today, and we're going to be joined in this conversation by none other than Christina Paiva, who is a growth strategist here at Stuff You Can Use. We love her so much. She has vast ministry and parenting experience, and she's going to tell us some of the things that she has done and some of the things that we can do in our ministries to work with kids who don't appear to be participating. So let's check that out. All righty, welcome Christina to the
Hey,
podcast.
Christina.
Hi guys, I'm so excited to
happy
be
you're
here.
Yeah.
So Christina and I became really fast friends. We met on a Zoom call, and then most recently, I mean, we bonded right away over a lot of things, but then most recently,
Yes.
we've just been texting back and forth about like K-pop Demon Hunters and the
Yes,
America's
this is
Next Top
true.
Model documentary.
All of it,
and-
yes. Girl,
and
girl.
90s Christian music, all the
Yes.
WoW
Yes.
albums. Yes.
I
yes.
love it.
The Wow
Yeah, we're
albums.
We're instant
Awesome.
besties. So,
Yes.
Christina, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, as you guys know, not everyone knows, I am born and raised here in San Diego, where I'm calling y'all from. Lived here my entire life. And I have been married for 20 years. We have 2 girls, 2 boys, 2 dogs. And I've been in ministry for, 20 plus years, definitely before I met my husband. So for about 25 years. And most of that has been in kids ministry. I just love kids ministry so much. But I've gotten to do things from starting up new ministries, inheriting broken ministries that needed rebuilding. And I've served in not every environment, but I've served in environments from like the small startup church to the multi-site mega church. So that's the span and the scope of all the things I've gotten to do in kids ministry so far.
Yeah, that's
Nice.
amazing.
That's great,
Yeah.
Christina. I'm so glad you're here. I too
Thank
had
you.
like a quick connection with Christina.
How can you not,
my
right?
wife, how can you not? My wife is Filipino. My boys are obviously half
Hey.
Filipino. And so early on, I connected with Christina, and she was cool enough to like share resources for how my kids could stay engaged with that that heritage.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So I know we're going to be talking about engagement today, and Christina is a natural at creating engagement for people because she
Aw,
did that
thanks,
for
you
my boys
guys.
right off the bat. So she's so cool, so helpful, and we are so glad that you're here today.
I'm glad
Yes.
to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yes. All right. Well, let's dive into today's topic.
Yes.
So,
All
the
right.
question is we are wanting to talk about kids who just don't want to participate. And, there are
Mhm.
probably a lot of reasons for that, which we will get into today. But, Christina, tell us, as we think about Allegra's question, where would you want us to start?
Yeah, well, it's so funny because I talked about this conversation topic with one of my teenagers, one of my girls, and she is an introvert to the T. So I said, "What is it? What does that mean? Like, what does it look like? What should we do when kids don't want to participate?" And she's
Right.
like, "Leave them alone."
Right. That's
I was
what
like, "What do you mean?" Right. I'm like, "What do you mean? I'm your extroverted mom. I'm cool. You want to be my friend?"
Yes.
And she gives me that like look. She loves me, but she gives me that look like,
Right.
So I think it's different. It's really important to remember that before we think about how to engage kids, that engagement looks different for every kid. And it depends. It can depend on age, so many different things. But I think that is definitely key. Just because a child is not cutting something out and answering your questions and turning to the Bible, it doesn't mean that they're not engaged and they're not present. So, yeah, some kids are just naturally quieter. Some like to observe. When I was first dating my husband, we went to church together. That's a great gauge right there. But he is the introvert. I'm the extrovert. So during the worship music, he just observes and he soaks it all in. And I'm like, does he even love Jesus? Like we're over here like dancing and stuff, So even doesn't matter how old you are, just engagement looks different. But especially for kids, and especially in different environments.
Yeah.
Right.
That's so great. This is such a great place to start because, as I mentioned in the intro, like I was that quiet kid, but I was always watching closely, like wanted to engage. And I remember that emphasis on participation in like a traditional sense, like speaking up or, what they would expect. And that really wasn't my jam, but I still wanted to engage. And so I think it's so important to think about the different ways that kids engage.
Yeah. And I think those of us who've been in kids ministry have heard the old adage of like, just, sometimes your quietest kids are the ones that are soaking in the most or engaging the most. And sometimes, and I've seen that so often, right? Like you're talking and talking and talking, and this kid's coming 4 weeks in a row and doesn't say anything. And then all of a sudden, week 5, they're like, chiming in with something you mentioned a couple weeks ago. It's like, you were listening.
Oh, it stuck with you.
And those are such cool moments. Yeah.
Yes. And those are great reminders too, that it's not about outward participation.
Yes.
And on the participation note too, I think that it's really important to focus on relationships versus participation. Because I think otherwise, if we do, like what you were talking about, Jason, we tend to encourage or reward even the outward participation. But then I think, are we just creating performers? Are we building a generation of kids who are performing versus authentically engaging? So when I say like focusing on relationships, not participation, I think it's important to just build trust and empathy and understanding for kids, every kid that walks through the door. And it's not about making like, oh, I hate this. Sorry if you do this. I honestly might have done this, but let's stop doing this. I would like go behind like the 3rd grade boy and raise his hands, or like, hey, yay, we're participating.
Absolutely
oh my gosh.
done that. Yes.
I'm sorry, 3rd grade boy, you're probably like 20 now or something.
I'm sorry for the eternal scars.
I hope that didn't traumatize you in church. My heart was in the right place. I just didn't know. I didn't know.
No, this is such an important point, Christina, and I want to talk about this a little bit more in depth because as you were both talking, I was reflecting on myself as a kid in Sunday school, and I remember just, I'm also an introvert at heart, which some people find hard to believe because I've had years and years of experience of performative extrovertedness because of
Yes.
things like that, because I needed to show people I'm engaged. So I have to put on the engaged participatory behaviors, right?
Yeah.
So I think it's really important that we separate that, like looking attentive and being attentive component, like when we're talking about when we say every kid engages differently. But then that you can only discern that if you are focused on the relationship and not just the outward
Yes.
behavior. So
Yes.
let's talk about this a little bit. What does it look like to focus on relationships and not participation?
Right.
That's really good. I think because I'm also a parent and my kids span literally second grade to second year in college, I think of how great my boys' school is right now, where they want to get to know him. Because I have two kiddos who are neurodivergent. They've been diagnosed with ADHD, and they, when you look in the classroom, as a snapshot. And again, this is different than ministry, but not so different. You will see Kaleo laying on his side. And it doesn't look like he's engaging, but he can tell me everything they talked about. He's excited about school. It's just that he thinks differently. And even his like occupational therapy wise, he has different strengths than your typical kids would in a classroom. So while it looks like he's just laying down, he's still engaging. And there are some things. So let's take it back to the ministry perspective. When it looks like building a relationship, or what it looks like to build a relationship with a kid is get to know them. Don't just write them off because they're laying down. And maybe they don't want to open up right away, but maybe they're laying down because they haven't eaten anything because their family can't afford it. I've had those kids. Maybe they're laying down because they were at dad's house last night and they had to be shipped over to mom's house real early in the morning. And maybe that's their dynamic at home. So getting to know the kid through conversation, getting to know parents. I think it's as important to know a child's name as it is a parent's name. So really taking those baby steps to not just write off a kid, but get to know their circumstances is one of the keys to building that relationship.
Yeah, I like that because
Yeah.
we all know, I'm sure all our listeners too know that we're not going to try to coerce kids to participate because that's not going to do
Right.
Yeah.
anything but brew resentment, and we don't want that. But it
Yeah.
is really hard as a leader when we see a kid not participating, quote unquote, like just from their outward behavior.
Yeah.
It's really hard for us to not feel like we need to do something to fix this,
Yeah.
right? So that relationship component is key because then when we get to know them well enough, then we get the information, right? Then we know, are they being shy, or is there some sort of social dynamic that you were mentioning? Or sometimes a social dynamic within the group that you don't know about and they don't even want known, right? Maybe there's
Right.
some sort of uneasiness and tension there. Maybe they just don't feel like it, and we just need to not be offended by that because sometimes we don't feel, adults don't feel like doing things at
Yes.
times, and a host of other things that are unknown to us. And so if we don't really like sit with them and adjust, then like we are just going to always think, oh, that kid is just purposefully defying me, right?
Yeah.
We don't want
Right. You said a key word, Linda, which I love, which is safe. Like we want, I think the first thing that a kid needs to feel is safety. And because without that, they aren't going to want to engage with anyone. And that could be anything from, physical environment to relationship dynamics. But you also mentioned, I can't remember what it was, but it reminded me, when a child walks into a space, if they don't feel safe or if they feel overwhelmed, like my kids can very much feel overwhelmed in what seems like, the Disneyland experience, like, hey, this is so much fun. I remember my 9-year-old, he hated like the large group, right, portion of kids church. I was like, and then again, extrovert mom, I'm like, streamers and everything. It's so much fun. What are you talking about? Why are you not having a great time?
How do you not love this?
Right, right. Look at all the colors, all the sound. Isn't it fascinating?
Yes.
And we figured out, like, he's like, noise canceling headphones, please.
Yeah.
I was like, I don't understand. But because so it's really interesting having my own kids, like how I've grown empathy for kids of all different backgrounds, all different styles, all different all different interests. So my introverted kids just get very overstimulated, whereas my extroverted kids are like more. So we're not talking about pleasing all the kids, but we're talking about meeting them where they are and creating safe spaces where they can feel like they belong there. And it's not just for the extroverted loud kid.
Yeah. I love how you are talking about safety, because I think that's earned over time, right? Like, I think the quick or coerced engagement is like the quick fix that we want, because it makes us feel good as the teacher or leader to have every kid standing and every kid dancing. Like, that makes us feel good in the short term. But when we play that long game, that's when we see, like you mentioned, that beautiful moment where the kid that hasn't been engaging, but they've been listening, and then they open up or they engage in this really special way that you get to experience because you played that long game with them. So I think that's really cool. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, absolutely.
I love kids ministry so much because the kids are so honest. By the time they've gotten to like adult ministry, right? Like, they'll stand up when the preacher says stand up. Okay, fine, they'll sit down. If a kid doesn't want to, you're not going to get them to. And I think that's like, I know that I just had this side thought of how often, if we're honest with ourselves, how often as kids ministry leaders are we gauging our own self-worth or our own ego, or I think one of you mentioned
comfort,
it earlier.
Yes.
Our own comfort by how the kids are responding. If not every kid is responding, that's a reflection on me. And it's really not. And so I want to, whoever's listening or watching, I want to give us all the permission to say, hey, how your kids engage is not a reflection of how well you are doing as a minister. It just speaks to how how they feel relationally there. So it's okay. It's okay if not everyone is participating and doing your craft.
Totally.
I love what you say that, because kids are really honest, and it'll show on their face, they'll show it with their body, but it is tricky because they're at that point where they can't fully articulate the why, right? So that's why this relationship advice is so good. I said relationship advice. We're not giving relationship advice.
I mean, we kind of are.
We kind of are.
That'll be when you and me text, Linda. That'll be our text
relationship with the kids. So I'm wondering though, because I'm sure our listeners are like, I feel like, I want this, right? But how can we actually do this from a practical standpoint? Like, how can we really be with and sit with a kid who just doesn't want to do anything? And like, I don't know, maybe is there something you've tried that has worked? And I'm sure, it's going to look different across all ministry spaces, but give us some messages of hope.
I mean, yes, it's all, theory is all great, but unless we have practical examples, it doesn't do too much. I like to just focus on giving those kids choices. I think it helps them to feel empowered, not in an entitled kind of way, but just like, okay, I'm here. And again, some of these kids might be regulars. Some kids might be here for the first time, brand new. But if they feel like they have choices, it does give them a sense of, okay, I'm here, but I still have some kind of say in what happens. Which leads back to that safety. So some of the things that I think of or that I've tried as well is giving them alternative seating choices. So you want to be able to see them right at all times. Some kids literally like to tuck into the cubbies where you can't see them, like in these corners. So you want to keep it safe. So I give them okay, well, it's totally fine if you don't want to sit here, and here are some other places in the room where you can still see what's going on and I can still see you. And that's really important because I want to know that you're there. So I think giving alternative seating that's safe where they don't have to be up front and they can kind of be their quieter selves. I've also invited those kinds of kids to be my helper. Like just, hey, maybe it feels safe for them because they know me to kind of stick side by side and they can literally be my shadow. Okay, so I'm going to go help with check-in. Do you want to help me give stickers? Do you want to just stand with me? Do you want to sit down? Do you want to stand up? And then also this might be we didn't even say it, but to me, it's a no-brainer and that's why I didn't say it. But knowing every child's name, especially these kids who don't want to participate. How often in the Bible does God tell us that He knows us by name? Gosh, I worked for a coffee company, very famous coffee company, back in 2010, 2012. We started going from vanilla non-fat latte to Carl. And that was a strategy because we wanted it to feel more personal. And so it's just really interesting what happens when you start using someone's name, and then they go from feeling like they blend in to actually feeling seen. They don't want to be called out, but they want to be seen. And there's a very big difference there. So those three things. Yeah, knowing their name, giving them some alternative seating in the area, and having inviting them to be your shadow, your helper.
Yeah, that's so good. I love what you said about choices because I do think
Yes.
that we need to learn how to give kids more autonomy than we're used to.
Mhm.
Because I
Yes.
think as grown-ups, we're just a little inherently afraid of what kids are going to do with their freedom.
Yeah,
But,
yeah.
we are teaching kids how to regulate. We're teaching kids how to make wise choices. And
Mhm.
we're also then not giving them any space to practice those things. So I think what you said there is
Right.
so valuable and so important. And
Right.
so I know that you have the next part that we're going to talk about is a really
Mhm.
cool acronym. Is it an acronym or an acrostic?
Yeah.
Strategy?
You're going to
What
I
is
share
love
it?
an
with us?
acronym.
Yeah.
I
Yes,
love a good acronym.
but I'm
We do
excited
too.
to
We
have
love an
you.
acronym.
Yes, we really do.
KMA loves
So,
its acronyms, man.
yes. So tell us about this acronym, about how we can help
Yeah.
our kids further
Yes.
participate in teaching time and small group
Yeah, I
time.
love this one. And full disclaimer, I learned this very early on in my ministry career. I can't quite pinpoint it. So if any of our listeners know if there is an origin, or maybe it's just one of those things that's passed on through generations,
Yeah.
that we just all adopt, then please let us know.
Yeah, it's like
But
WWJD, right? It just gets
right.
passed on.
Yeah.
Okay. So on this note, the S that we all drew in junior high? My kids
Mhm.
know that now. Like, how do you?
Right,
I
because
didn't
like
teach you.
Stussy is
Whoa.
back in.
Yes, yes. So Stussy,
So
it's
fun.
that like generational knowledge that just gets
Yeah,
passed
it's
on.
great.
So this is
Love
the
it.
Stussy of children's ministry acronyms.
Yes, tell us more.
Yes. So this is the WIN acronym. So how to win in children's ministry when it comes to kids who are not engaging, and it stands for welcome, invite,
Yeah.
and network.
Yeah.
So now that we know that we are going for this safe environment, we know that we're on the same page of building relationships with kids, earning their trust. Here's what we can do practically to make sure that every kid feels welcomed, every kid feels included or invited, and then every kid feels networked. So first of all, welcome. We want to make sure that every child is seen from the start. So if you have a ton of kids, if you use name tags, please, print out name tags or write out name tags. If you have a smaller group and it's easier to remember that way, just as long as you know who every kid is. And honestly, in a smaller environment, if kids are writing, it might be fun for them to make their own name tag. And that way, other kids know one another. So that welcoming, engaging presence starts as soon as kids walk through the door. Position a greeter right then and there. And this could be an adult. It could be an older child. It could be one of your extroverted kids who just loves talking with people. But having a greeter by the door really helps kids to know, to feel seen right away as soon as they enter in. Like, it's kind of that tone of like, hey, we've been waiting for you. I'm so excited you're here. And then, like I was saying, make sure that they're greeted by name, making eye contact. I know kids are so used to doing this nowadays, right, with their screens. So ensure like, hey, we see you. We're so excited that you're here. So some kind of simple catchphrase like that. And then I think also having your activity or welcome stations set up beforehand. So this is when leaders, this is our role to make sure that we're getting there early enough. Everything is set up. Our volunteer teams know like what they're going to be doing. The instructions are clear. But something where kids can get engaged into right away. That says something different to a child versus like, oh no, you're here. Let me get out the games. It's like, no, we want you to feel welcomed. And then also if, you might have an activity in mind and it ties in with the lesson, it's going to, prompt their minds and their hearts and spirits for what they're about to learn. But some kids don't want to do that. And maybe they want something quieter. Maybe they just want to sit. So having some comfortable seating. We used to have like little like prayer nooks in our elementary room where it was like a one-seater beanbag. Don't get any, here, pro tip, don't get anything bigger than a one-seater because everyone's going to want to sit on it together.
Yes.
And then they're going to do like the blob thing where they try to launch each other off.
Yeah.
That may or may not be from experience. But some kind of cushion or something where like one child can sit at a time. Maybe there's a puzzle. Maybe there's, drawing paper. So just having these ways for them to engage as soon as they come in, it lets them know, hey, we knew you were coming. We're expecting you. We're so excited you're here. And here are some immediate ways that you can step into because we want you to know that we welcome you and we love having you.
Yeah. I love that. I think before we move on to invite, I love that this welcome piece includes the options of engagement. Because we're talking about the safety and it's almost like you're asking them, in a way. They're not walking into an already set environment that like you wanted and they have to like fall into place. They're like, this is a space that's willing to flex and bend with what your needs are. And I think that's so cool with the welcoming piece.
Yeah,
absolutely.
And it gives them an opportunity to not just sit there until the programming begins or just kind of wait to be shepherded into the next thing. But like I can do something and then immediately make connections with other kids who are doing the same thing with them if they want to. Maybe they just want to read a book and that's okay too.
Yes.
I know. Maybe they just need space. Maybe they're like my kids and they have 3 other siblings at home and they just want space.
That's
totally fine.
Totally.
Yes. The next one is invite or include, whichever one you want to use. We want to offer some really low pressure ways for kids to participate or for them to engage. Instead of just instead of throwing them to an activity or pointing to activities, you might have a leader who can say, hey, I would love for you to come and do this with me. Like we're making this today. Would you like to come with me and try it? Instead of go and do that. Oh, hey, Jen, welcome. Go over there. We're doing crafts. That feels different to Jen, the little girl, instead versus like, hey, I'm going to go use these really cool scissors we just got. Do you want to come try them with me? So it's inviting a child to come alongside you. And I like the word that we're adding on the word include because I feel like you can invite someone to do it and they may not accept right away, but if you include them in what you're already doing, again, it's like that, come and shadow me, come and be with me. And then, like we said, if they're not ready to jump into an activity or do anything, just let them know that there are these more independent stations that they can have, that they can go towards. One of the key points I want to bring in here too, and I know a lot of people are going to say, I just don't have enough leaders. I get that. There's a worldwide leader shortage. And guess what? It dates back to the Bible when Jesus is like, the harvest is plenty, the workers are few. So same as Jesus. But I think this is where it's so important to have consistent small group leaders or whatever your church calls them, whatever your ministry calls them. But when you can have a small group leader who's consistent and is looking for their group every time, their group members every time, that will also help your kids to have a place to be invited and included. Imagine, Linda or Jason, if you signed up for a small group at a church and you went to their house or went to the church grounds or whatever, and every week your small group leader kept changing. And every week you're asking a different person for prayer. It's hard to build relationship. Readjust. The dynamic is different. Your group might look different. And I get it. I get that you're not going to have every kid every week and not every leader is going to be available every week. But however you can get consistent in your ministry, whether it's the same leader once a month, the same leader every other week, or blessings from above, the same leader every single week. Whatever consistency looks like for your ministry, do that, because that will, again, increase the safety the child feels, build relationship, and then they'll be more likely to engage and participate in whatever ways it looks like for them.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I would say about the include piece.
Totally.
Yeah.
I think it's great. What you were saying earlier, just about the options for the kid, even to pass, which I think as leaders, we can sometimes see that as a fail. Like if they pass on something that we've set up or something.
Yes, you may not abstain.
Right. And that shouldn't be brushed over, because like you've talked about, like that option builds safety for the kid to be able to say like, no, I'm not going to do this, but I have another option to do this. And they feel included in all of that. So yeah, I think that's really important.
And I come from a Korean church background, and the ways that we operate, it is very dictated, everything that we do. So even when I grew up in Sunday school, and even in the early days as a ministry leader, I was like, what do you mean you don't want to do it? You got to do it, you know?
Right.
And when a kid would choose to not participate, instead of acknowledging and meeting them where they are, not just me, but the entire group would turn on them and be like, oh my goodness, you're like such a downer. Like, why are you like this? And so I remember, and so not only do they already feel uncomfortable, and for whatever reason they don't want to participate, that feeling is already there. But now you're excluded. The shame and the exclusion, and like, wow, will I want to come back? Probably not.
Exactly.
Right. Because do we want to go back to a place where we're only given one thing to do or one option and we must comply, or do we feel better and going in a place where we do have choices?
Right.
Yeah. Totally. And you mentioned, Linda, like the group dynamic too. Something that I forgot to mention, but I think is so important as leaders, is when we do have time and make space for those like smaller discussion groups or smaller activity groups after the teaching or before, however you set it up. As leaders, I think it's really important to give everyone in your group an opportunity to share, because the extroverts, we might dominate a conversation. Not from experience necessarily, maybe so.
Absolutely not.
No, I've never been told by a leader when I was in junior high to stop talking because it's someone else's turn. No, that's weird.
Not at all.
No, because extroverts will share so freely. There might be some, there are the Lindas and the Jasons of the group that might really have something amazing to contribute or something important to contribute. And as leaders, we want to make sure that every child knows that their voice matters and their presence matters, even if they say nothing. Again, they might pass the first 4 whatever weeks, and then on that 5th week, it's like, oh, I actually want to pray for my grandma because she's dying. So something like that.
Yeah, when it comes to sharing, I love giving kids just a chance, like before, like when instead of asking a question and being like, okay, who wants to answer it? Because the processing speed is different for everyone.
Yes.
I love inviting everyone to like write it down or like just doodle, whatever, just like sit with it. And then it gives everybody a little bit more time to process. And then it's like, okay, now who feels comfortable enough to share? I think that's a really good strategy, because then now they've thought about it. They don't feel put on the spot and scared of saying something. Oh, maybe I shouldn't have said that. Right?
Yes.
And
no, that's good.
They've thought it through. And even with younger children, I think that's a good way. Like maybe they're not writing yet, but it's just like, let's think about it for like, I don't know, we'll count together or something and then we can share. I think that really helps the kids in the group just acclimate and learn how to like wait and listen to each other as well, right?
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, that's
This
good.
is such an interesting dynamic today because we got 2 introverts interviewing an extrovert.
Let me tell you all the things I know. Ready, go.
That's why Linda and Jason wrote down all our notes.
We did. We have everything in its place, but we can talk about something now that maybe, Christina, you like a lot, and it seems like a real chore to an introvert like me, which is networking. So how do we work networking into this strategy?
I know. It comes with a built-in fear for me. Like, ooh, networking.
Like Honestly, like, here's my TBH moment. When I hear the word networking, I think of like cheesy business people. Like,
Sure.
hey, give me your card. Like that's not what
Yeah.
we're talking about here, because that's just like ick to me.
Mhm.
But networking in the sense of how to win in children's ministry is really at its core just helping kids to build more connections. While it can feel really good to have this kid who wants to see us every week, and then now they're opening up to us, and it's amazing. And look what we did with the Lord. Like this kid is now opened up to me. You don't want to be the linchpin in children's ministry for them. We should never be the superstar that they're coming for. Like we want them to come for Jesus, come for connection, and all that. So you want to. There are ways that you can help kids network and build their community in the ministry. We get sick sometimes and we can't make it sometimes. You don't want to be worrying about if little Josh is going to cry because you're not there. So let me walk us through like the WI and now at the end, because this can all take place on like one Sunday morning if you want. But you welcome Josh in, you notice his haircut, right? You include him in the activity, or you show him a couple of different alternatives that he can do while he's waiting. And then you can even say, hey, Josh, I don't know if you've met Ethan yet, but he's also in 4th grade. And maybe Ethan's doing an activity. Maybe Ethan likes to make friends. Maybe Ethan's like the kid who just doesn't mind talking to anyone. But in introducing Josh to Ethan so that you can go back to your station and greet parents and everything, or even introducing Josh to another leader at the table. This is what it looks like to build that network for kids, showing them that, yes, you're a safe person, but also, Josh, I trust everyone else in this room, and I'm gonna introduce you and network and connect them with you as well.
Yeah, I love this. I remember as a kid loving when teachers would do this, because it took that awkwardness out of it for me. Like I don't feel like I have the ability to go up to this other kid and say like, "Hi, my name's Jason," and
I know,
go
right?
from there.
I hate introducing
So, like,
myself. I
doing
know I
that
make
as
you
a
do it, Christina,
teacher,
but I hate doing it.
yeah, where
Someone
you
tell
build
them
that
about me,
connection.
please.
Yeah, that's so good. It's so good because you don't have to do it. Like you place them next to that other kid and you say like, "Hey, these are the similarities that you share," and you're almost like building that bridge for them, which I think is
Right.
so cool.
And that even makes me think like, if you do have those kids and or leaders in your ministry who are just like the welcome wagon, they're like, "Oh, a new person, yay!" But that understand boundaries and all that. Let them know ahead of time. Hey, would it be okay if I brought any new kids or any of the shyer kids to you? Like, would that be cool? And if it's one of your preteens or someone who just loves to lead, what a great opportunity for them to take ownership of their ministry that they're already a part of, and just be like Jesus to someone else. Because for that kid, leadership doesn't have to mean standing up in front of people. And I want to show those kids, because I was that kid. You don't have to also, it's not about being a superstar either. Like, we're just going to quietly bring a kid your way. And we would love for you to introduce them to your friends. So I think that's a great opportunity for like a ministry within your ministry. Yeah. I also think of building the network outside of your ministry room, and that includes parents or family members who bring them to the church. Well, I'll say parents for ease. I know that grandparents bring them. I know that cousins and aunts and everything. But just for the ease of conversation, just partnering with parents is also such a key. I'm that parent that if I'm new to a ministry, because I like to visit different ministries every now and then with my kids, I will tell them about how my kid is. If he's laying down, doesn't mean that he's not engaged. Or I can, hey, this is what we use at home to help him to pay attention because he has a hard time focusing. You can try it here. He understands that phrase, So if there's a child who's there for the first time, you may not want to go to you don't need to say to the parent, like, hey, does he have any like quirks that we should know about? That doesn't have to be on your questionnaire or a verbal conversation, but, welcome them to the ministry. We're so excited to have him here. Observe him, for the first 1 or 2 times. And then if you notice that that the child is a little more, recluse or just doesn't want to be involved, you can ask the parent. And sometimes for me, it has segued into like parents really needing prayer, like maybe not even about the child, but maybe something's going on at home and it's obviously affecting the child. Like, oh, thank you so much for trusting me with that, Maria. I would love to pray with you if it's okay. So I think building that bridge with the parents as well, is such a key, because what we don't want to do is create this drop off pickup ministry where we cut it off at the door and parents don't know who we are and vice versa. But I think when the timing is right, asking a parent, if there's anything that you can help with, or hey, I noticed this about Josh today, and on that I like to sandwich it. I don't like I know what it's like for parents to come to the door to pick up their child and see a look in my eyes and for them to be like, what did he do now? I never want to set a child up like that. Like, if anything, I've learned, you want to sandwich it. Like Maria's coming to the door to pick up Josh. Hey, Maria, I'm so excited Josh came today. Oh, I love his haircut. How cute is that? And so kind of just starting with that good news when parents come to pick up. Hey, I noticed he was a little bit like angry today. So like don't worry, like kids can be angry here. That's totally normal. Here's what we did together. I just want to know is there any way that, we can help or anything we can pray about for you or with you? Just if so, let me know. If not, just know we're always here. So very non-threatening, very, it's not a parent-teacher conference. It's just, hey, we see your son, we see you, we love that you're here. So let us know if we can help.
Right.
Yeah.
And so much of kids ministry is not ever about the kid, right? It's really about that village that surrounds the kid. And so being able to build that relationship and expand that network to their families is so important to really fuel your ministry, because if a parent, like if the grown-up in their life feels uncomfortable and doesn't feel safe and doesn't trust the leadership, then the kid's going to feel that. They're going to absorb that, and they're going to be like, well, I know mom doesn't want to be here. Why do I have to be here? Right? It's just like a little, like they'll feed off of that. And also, also as a parent myself, we're all parents in this room, but like I really do appreciate it when leaders talk to me, and even though they are expressing a concern, like their love for my child as a parent. And I think like I'm only bringing this up because I am concerned about his well-being, and it's not performative in any kind of way. It's not like, oh, just checking off my duties, but like I'm really like I really care about your kid, and I want to help him succeed. I want to help him adjust, and that's always been a really like welcoming stance for me. One thing that like my kids' school teachers would do, like that first week of a new school year. So this can be like, I guess, anytime you have a new parent or a new family, like we can, like they have this like really short questionnaire that they send out through a Google form. And it's just like, these are some things I would love to know about your child. And so it's like, tell me whatever. Tell me nothing. That's fine too. Like, if there's anything that you'd like for me to know about about your child to better connect with them and to help meet them where they are, like please let us know. And so it gives them a chance to it gives families a chance to think about it a little bit, right? It's going back to the let me like think and write it down, and then be able to communicate that without having to have a face-to-face, because that can be intimidating, right?
Yes.
Yeah, these are really excellent points, Christina.
For sure. Well, it comes with all those seasoned years of ministry that we've had,
Okay, Jason, what a fun conversation with Christina.
Yes.
I love hanging out with her.
Totally love having Christina here. So many great points that she brought up. And I know personally for me, like the win strategy is one that's going to stick with me. Like I'm definitely going to, not that I wasn't doing that before, but like thinking about it that intentionally. And then like I said, when we were talking, like the consistency piece, like doing it consistently, I think that was really great for everyone to hear, just as a reminder.
Yeah, it was really good to talk with Christina because a lot of what she says, it comes from lived experience.
Totally.
And
Yeah.
just a lot of the permission she was giving about like, hey, it's okay if this doesn't work out, you can try this. I think as parents, what we experience a lot of the time is that trial and error piece.
Hmm.
And so we're like, let me try this. Oh, that didn't work. Let me try this. That didn't work. But just to have it summed up in this kind of strategy is really helpful because then now we know like, okay, even if it didn't work, I know what I'm supposed to be doing, or these are some things that can be intentional about. So that was really fun to talk about.
Yeah. 100%.
All right. Well, before we leave today, Jason, gotta
Hmm.
ask you the eternal
Yes.
important question of the
I came
day.
ready today. I am ready for
Yes.
this today.
All right. So tell us, what are you into?
So there is a new video game that my 11-year-old got, and it's called Silk Song. Have you ever heard of this?
I have not, but I haven't heard of most video games.
Okay, well, I'm totally going to be that 40-year-old dad who is trying to describe something that he knows not enough about. Like a kid would be like, cringe
At this
city.
point, you're giving me recommendations to give my kid.
Exactly. Okay, so the game is called Silk Song. And the reason I know, Linda, you're not like a video game like person, right? Or are
No,
you?
I
Okay,
wouldn't
not
identify as a video gamer, no.
okay. The reason why I'm mentioning it to you is because it is the most beautifully illustrated game. Like you need
Okay.
to check it out just for the illustrations. It's like pretty. It's very, very
Hmm.
cool to play because of just the visuals. But the characters in it are bugs, and you're like this. I think you're a moth. This is the part that's gonna make kids cringe. I think you're a moth, and you're like traveling through this kind of grungy world, like the world of like a bug and stuff, and um, yeah, that's all I could really say about
You
it.
know,
But
I'm gonna
but
be honest, it doesn't sound super enticing,
yeah,
but
you just have to check it out. I mean, the visuals are so cool, and
okay,
the little
okay.
character that you play, the way that she moves around and stuff, it's just very, very innovative.
Oh,
So
okay.
that is what I'm into. I'm playing that with Isaiah these days. What about
All
you?
right. I'm gonna have my son check it out and just watch him play so I can look at the pretty pictures.
Exactly. Exactly.
Okay, so what I'm into is I don't know if you've seen him, but he's all over TikTok and Instagram, and I think he
Mhm.
recently released some songs like actually into the marketplace.
Mhm.
But it's this guy who writes songs based on the stories his like 3-year-old toddler tells him.
Oh my gosh,
It's
yes.
so funny. Like the stories make absolutely no sense. Then he puts music behind it and it's hilarious. Like there's one about like a regular rabbit. Like it's just
Yeah.
a regular rabbit had like a regular house. And then and it's so cute.
I
And then like
already love it.
I know it's so
Yeah.
it's so cute, and at some point, it's like the rabbit wanted to go in the plane to find her mom, and it's like her mom was in the plane, like,
Yeah,
what's
why is her
happening?
mom doesn't matter.
Yeah, it's hilarious, so, like, go search for it, like, I think you can find it,
Yeah.
and it just gives me joy to be like, first of all, kids are hilarious, but
Yes.
just the time and energy this father put into crafting it into these really catchy tunes, I think
Yeah.
you'll get such a kick out of it.
That's very cool. That is very cool.
Yeah, it's so fun. It makes me be like, "Oh, I wish I was doing this when my kids were a toddler."
Yeah,
Because
yeah,
they
what a
told me a
cool
lot of
way to
funny
kind of
things. Yeah.
encapsulate that because it is yeah, the stories my 6-year-old still does it. Just the wild creative stories that he comes up with. I wish I could make them all into some sort of art
Right?
form, yeah.
Right, yeah. Well, thank you so much, Jason. Always a fun
Yes.
time hanging with you on the podcast. Thank you, Christina, for joining us and
Yep.
sharing your
Thanks,
wisdom and experience
Christina.
with us. Thank you, Allegra, for submitting your
Yeah.
question. It was so good to hear from you. And listeners, I really hope you appreciated this conversation as well. And let us know if there's a question that you want answered on this podcast, and we would
Mhm.
love to answer it for you. And you can submit your question at kma.show. All right, everyone, have a good day. We'll talk to you later.
Bye.
Bye.